Hello, hello, good morning, good evening. It's Revolved with RunDiffusion. And I'm joined today by Benjaminimal, developer. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. With AnimateDiff, there's a few different models that you can use. You were saying you got some good results with Dreamshaper?
Yeah, Dream Shaper works pretty well. I mean, a lot of the big popular ones will work well. So your realisms, your epic realisms, your dude, I mean, I can't believe it's not your photochasms, all the photorealistic models, but also the Dream Shaper, and some of the more popular anime models will work as well. The question of what doesn't work is sort of an open question. Um, this is very new, and it's still in progress. So if anybody finds anything that works particularly poorly, I'd like to know that.
Yeah,
Try
and
to figure something
and
out.
and stuff that works well. We're all figuring this out
Yeah.
together, right? To start off with, notice we have the canvas here. You haven't seen in, or I'm using a little mouse button to canvas around. Roll wheel out. Over on the top here, we have models. Left hand side, you can see we've got our dimensions, right? We'll just stick with 512 by 512 start. See this nation tab that will. I do have a prompt loaded in. Pretty wild. I don't know how it's going to come across. It's round. But let's pop open this tab here. Tweaks kind of has some of the other steps, config scale, scheduler, etc. But we'll keep those as deep now. Table animation. Do you want to talk about what we're seeing here, Benjaminimal?
Yeah, so the enabling animation is going to set you to a set of defaults that will do 16 frames. 16 frames is probably your sweet spot for your beginning. That's what it's trained on. But there's also a lot of stuff to
Yeah.
make those 16 frames bigger, better, or stretch them out over a longer period of time. um that's sort of it's sort of all just fancy ways to work with 2-second intervals, because that's how AnimateDiff was trained.
So we've got starting off here. I just hit Enfugue 60 frame animation, couple seconds just to get things going while we're chatting here. Um, I notice right off the bat by default, this is the fun part. I love it's like craziness that you get. Let's actually just take a moment. I love that you kept this in. Like you didn't have to
Yeah,
keep this in, but you
I
were like,
know.
no, I want that in there. Wow, that's
But it
pretty
looks so
cool.
cool.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so it pops out in a video when you're done, right? Been
Yep.
converted. Yeah, looks good. I like
Yeah.
this. I like this.
So yeah, we can talk a little bit. There's controls for the frames that are on your canvas right now, on the bottom hand side, so you could see this like timeline view that's showing you each individual one. You could stop playing if you just hit the button on the right. You can drag through and look at individual frames if you would like to. They are saved as individual images with AnimateDiff, but you did see that video pop up. That's an MP4 that you can download that, or you can download individual frames. And because it's individual frames, you can control the frame rate on the fly here.
Hmm.
It's nice and easy to look at what it'll look like if you try and increase the frame rate. Um, like I said, it's trained on 16 frames at 8 frames a second. That is the training data. So anything beyond that will require finagling. But hey, this looks pretty darn good for coming right off the defaults, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Great result. Let's keep this going. So one thing I noticed here, enabled by default, is frame attention slicing. While we're waiting for another generation to come through, do you want to kind of talk briefly about what that does?
Sure. So that is the big thing that works with those 2-second intervals. So sort of how you may have done tiling in a program like Auto, which is looking at an individual section of the frame at a time. Top, the left, the right, the top, the bottom. This does the same thing, but with time. So instead of just looking at instead of looking at an entire animation, I will only ever look at a certain number of frames at a time, and that window will slide, and in sliding that window you will get several 2-second animations blended into one another, which can result in a coherent longer than 2-second animation. So the frame window there is, if you were to increase your animation frames to something longer than 16, the default set of frame attention slicing will, yep, 32 is a good number. So what this will do is it'll take a 16 frame window. So it'll look at the first 1 through 16, and then it will look at that number plus the stride. So the stride in this case is 8. So after 1 through 16, it'll look through 8 through 24. And then after 8 through 24, it'll look at 16 through 32. So the total number of temporal chunks in this instance would be 3, because it's the 3 chunks, 16, 16, 16. You can increase the frame stride to have less chunks, but then you will have less overlap, which results in less coherence. Or you could decrease it, which results in more overlap, which can result in more coherence. I left it at what I think is the best happy medium.
So the frame slicing only does a portion. What you were saying to me earlier was like AnimateDiff was designed around 20. But
well, yeah, that's a different that's position encoding.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Okay, got them confused. Okay, so we've got 32 frames. Just one thing I did here, I did go into the model models, your checkpoints, etc. Auras, if you wanted to. I did enable a VAE just because coloring. I kind of saw the coloring was a little bit off. We're gonna try to make it brighten it up a bit. I love these wings. Like, wow, this is super cool what we've got here. Got it on YouTube. You're saying it's phenomenal. I agree. Phenomenal Benjaminimal has made a really awesome app.
I like that.
I was a little, but I'm coming along here. So we've got another one going with 32 frames.
Yep.
While we're doing that, let's talk about the position encoding slicing, because that was what I was saying, right? It was like it was designed around 24 frames, but there's some kind of features that you notice. You were talking with the AnimateDiff devs, is that right?
Yep. So there's a Discord off with the developer of the Comfy extension for AnimateDiff, the developer of some of the command line tools for AnimateDiff. Basically, everybody except the AnimateDiff developers, they do come in from time to time, the actual AnimateDiff, but everybody who's trying to build stuff around AnimateDiff wound up in this Discord. And it was there that we discovered that there, like we said, there is 24 frames I'm sorry, there's 16 frames. It looks good in 16 frames, but there are actually 24 frames of position data. And that those 24 frames of position data, it seems like the last 8 are not used. If that's the case, we're not entirely sure, but I can tell you what the result is. The result is if we decide to slice off those last 8, wow, I am loving how that transitioned. Anyway, if you slice off the last 8, then you have only the first 16, and you can take that 16 and stretch it out to fill that 24 or longer. And in doing so, you sort of extend the time scale. It operates kind of like making the position changes slower. So the end result is what you can do is make a larger window than 16 frames that will remain coherent. So if you enable position encoding slicing like you have now, you've got 16 to 24. You will see a difference here.
Yeah.
But this isn't necessarily the best use of this. The best use of this is to increase your frame window size to match the scale length now. So you have the truncate length at 16 and it scales to 24. If you set your window size now to 24, then you'll be using those 24, all
I
24
see.
of your
I see.
frames.
Try that next.
Yeah.
Um, so you want to
Which all,
match scale
yep.
length size
Yes. Well, that's a good place to
to
start.
start. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
It is.
There's a lot of experimentation to be
Yeah,
done here.
as always with AI art, right? All the fun's found on the edges of
Yeah.
experimentation with.
Yes, that is true, and this is certainly on the edges. Like, I'm, it's esoteric where you can find these tools in stuff like Comfy and other stuff. They're actively being developed.
Yeah, and I think the Discord you're talking about is the Bandoko Discord. Is that right? The
Yeah,
AnimateDiff one.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, great.
Bando
Um,
Doko.
Bando,
Not,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'll share it in the Discord, so people check it out. But yeah, I think that what's really interesting is, this is all technology that's being made by. I think really kind of added a great tool set around it, where you have this kind of timeline is just very used. Let's actually explore kind of, to me, is the most telling as a video guy, and I really like this one. Wow, this is awesome.
Nice.
Turns from angel into normal. Okay, cool. This is really, so that did make. So let's try it again with the frame window size while puttering
Yeah.
around here. So let's talk about prompt travel. That is
Yeah.
that is fun.
So prompt travel is a method of basically changing the prompt throughout the attention cycle. So as we were talking about, you're looking at an individual section of animation at once. If you change the prompt while you're doing that, you can create an effectively a timeline by describing things that are happening in roughly 2-second intervals. Um, that can do a lot of really cool things depending upon what you've got set up. Um, it can make for some really interesting morphs. So there was a time I was posting just like scary Halloween morphs earlier in the beginning of Halloween, where I was just like taking one prompt and then another prompt and just smashing them together, one at the beginning, one at the end, and just letting them morph. Or you can have a consistent prompt and have like your prompts over time be different action words. So like one consistent prompt that describes your character, and then other prompts that get blended because I have this timeline which blends these prompts together that get blended to produce actions over time. And you can use other things like control net and IP adapter to even increase the coherence for that.
Ooh, yeah, that's fun. We'll definitely have to play with that. I really like just the hair. It's
Yeah,
not moving as much, but it's
right.
really awesome. Okay, so
Yep.
we've got this one section, right? Of this is our
Yeah.
video now. This is the prompt is across the
Yep.
entire way. So if I wanted to make this let's say
Yeah. That's a 48.
48. Okay, yeah, we'll do 48. And the
and
last
and
frames. Yeah.
change your window stride as well to 12.
Oh, okay. Just
The
the
size
stride.
is keep the size at 14. Stride, yes, stride at 12.
Okay, so it requires a bit
Yes.
more VRAM, but reduces the amount of slice.
Correct. Well, it'll this will keep the same amount of slices. Actually, it'll be 3 slices, but 48 frames.
Got it. Kind of.
Yes.
I got
So
to admit, a lot of this is beyond me. I do just like to experiment, but what I appreciate is that you've kind of got all the great like customizability, like raw control that Comfy has, but you've put it into an interface that's like easy to understand, like automatic. But now
mm,
you've like added in this whole other like this right here. You can see there's a little arrow or pencil on here. Now I just put in the prompt, right? So what I'll do is I'll go down here.
your original prompt is not, yeah. When you check it,
Oh,
you get one or the other.
all
Your
right.
global prompt or the yeah.
Luckily, I've got it open here. So we're going to go grab the prompt.
Well, you have it's right there on the timeline.
Oh,
Your
I can
top
just
one.
copy this. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, of course, of course, of course.
you can keep both windows open at once as well. You don't
Ah,
have to.
that's what we. Okay,
There
okay.
you go.
I like
Yeah.
it. I like it. This is
Yes.
good. This is good. We're just kind of getting rid of everything that's referencing a person, abstract. Okay, so
Mhm.
now.
There's definitely also experimentation to be done with the words that you're choosing. Because obviously, you're taking a typical image style, but now you've also thrown in some action words, and how those action words are interpreted by the motion module is sort of an open question. We're sort of experimenting. What is the best way to describe things?
Yeah.
Um, so that this is a really cool time to be looking at stuff like that, where you're, sort of the fresh prompt engineering time again, where we're gonna be the first ones to come up with one girl masterpiece, but for animation.
World is your
Um,
oyster right now for animation.
true.
Amazing.
There's motion LoRa and motion modules.
Mm.
The motion modules, there's this is going to be a slightly technical, but there's two versions of motion modules for AnimateDiff, version 1 and version 2. They're just slightly different architectures. Enfugue will support both. There is a third version of AnimateDiff that came out like a week ago that is for SDXL. It is a little difficult to work with. I'm working on it. It requires a whole heck of a lot of VRAM, so most people aren't going to be able to use it anyway, at least in its current incarnation. But
How much?
so
How
when
much
you
VRAM?
18 for 16
Uh
frames. Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's a chunk.
Well, hopefully,
When it
hopefully,
does,
this stuff like improves time. Like I've seen M stuff. There's lots of like interesting stuff that's coming along.
yes. So LCM, I will be releasing LCM later this week for Enfugue images and animations. Um, it is really good with 1.5. With XL, it's a little bit harder to work with. So we lost a bit of coherence here. Uh,
We'll see. We'll
yeah,
see. It seems to just be evaporating, which is also going to.
yeah. These things happen. Once again, we're experimentation. Um, how motion is interpreted is really odd, and especially if you go towards XL and start using Hotshot XL, is very very strange.
And you
And
have
yeah,
Hotshot in this as well, right?
I do have Hotshot. If you select a, well, I mean, she just evaporates. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So you might want to. Um, so let's think about what did we change that resulted in this coherence. So we extended our stride to 12. That probably didn't really do anything. Our animation frames were longer, also probably didn't do anything. So we might want to add in some motion attention scaling, which is another thing.
Oh yes, right. So the motion attention scaling sort of like
Yeah.
describing like it brings more movement, right?
Yes. So AnimateDiff itself, it was trained to produce 512 by 512 animations, but the actual training size was 256 by 256.
Mm.
And what we discovered, once again, in the Banadoko Discord, is that you can scale the attention of the motion module in accordance with the ratio between the training size and the inference size. Sounds complicated because it is a little bit complicated, but the result of simply enabling it should be more motion. In general, more motion for the size that you're creating, including 512 by 512. And then there is an additional dial that will multiply that motion by a factor. That factor can be greater than 1 to increase it or lower than 1 to decrease it. Um, and it's once again this is experimental. What are good numbers? Start at 1 is usually my recommendation, and then somewhere between 1 and to 1.4
Hmm.
will be like a lot of motion. If you want a dynamic scene, that's where you want to go. If you want basically totally incoherent frames, then you can go higher than that.
Ooh, it's looking good.
It is looking good. So it looks like
Oh.
we are getting a heck of a lot of motion, but we're also
The motion looks
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, it looks amazing. We do have, the woman is there. It's still coherent.
Does disappear and
It does
like a
disappear.
gem.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know if I would call it doves, but
Something's going on.
yeah.
It looks awesome. So, okay, wow. He just turns into an orb and evaporates into
Oh man.
quantum bird reality. This is like a great start for AnimateDiff. Um, let's do some like photo bashing
Yeah,
because this is exciting stuff. Now, if I wanted to do an AnimateDiff with a photo, that's relatively easy, right?
sure is. You would just throw the photo onto the canvas as you would in other Enfugue, which is you can drag it or paste. Um, and then you would just enable animation and hit go.
Okay, so let's try that. I have like a too big. I need to scale it to the
So, well, in the top right hand section are your layer options. Oh, you can do that, which will make the canvas fit that, or you can have the um once you get it back on there, there are options in the top
okay, let's see.
right. Yeah.
This here.
See the top, nope, all the way on the
Oh,
right,
image fit. Yeah, yeah.
yep. So change that to cover, will probably be your best, or contain will keep some area around it.
There we go.
Cover would, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can, if you wanted to have, more of her body, you could just extend the height out to like 768 or whatever, and that would probably be a good level.
736. And then
Sure.
cover.
Now you got to just drag the bottom of that image to the bottom of the
Oh, okay.
canvas.
Yeah. Now we're using canvas.
I think you missed a part.
I
There you
did.
go.
I did. Yeah, I just needed. There we go.
Yes.
Okay. So we can just hit generate on this.
Yeah, I mean,
Animate
what do we
diff.
have for our prompts? It's probably
Same.
something.
Well, I use this prompt to make this image.
One last thing.
Yeah.
You have to tell me to use this for image to image instead of trying to do in painting or out painting. Yes, check denoising string.
Okay.
There you go.
Denoising. And then
Yep.
do I want to
And
change
now
the
you're good.
or can I leave it at
You can keep it
0.99?
at 0.99. So I wouldn't go to 1.0 because
Yeah.
you'll basically lose
Right.
your entire beginning image. Somewhere between 0.8 and 0.99 is going to be the sweet spot for keeping what your original image looks like and adding motion to it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's give this a go and see what we get. I mean, we could IP adapter. We could do a whole bunch of stuff.
But we also still have our prompt travel going on. So
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited. I
yeah.
really wanted to give that a go. It'll take a little bit longer, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we go. So it's splitting this. It's making it into every frame.
Yes, because that's you're starting. It shows your starting images. So if you had a video, it would show what frames of the video are on each frame when you're starting.
But go.
Wow.
Turns into a phoenix.
Man.
That's awesome.
Look at that. I mean, there is almost assuredly a website upload video to reverseIt.com
Oh yeah.
or something. I have used some of those, and what's funny is while I was talking about that the silly photo interpolation, there are websites for doing that too. You can just go to one of those websites that will just like fade one image into the next or do a not that good blend. And then you can just run that through AnimateDiff and it will interpolate it in some different fashion.
That's right. You can upload videos on here too, can't you?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And you can run those through control nets. You can run them through IP adapter. You can use the fit options in the top right.
Right, right,
So,
right.
and yes,
Okay.
I am looking to make that more flexible in a way, like um, similar to how like some other programs will just let you scale things as you want and place them where you want. It does take a little bit of work, but yes.
All in progress. And you only worked on this a few months. It's like amazing done in that time.
Thank you.
It's super, super impressive. So
Shamanic, yes. That's the right beneath the width button is a horizontally tiling button.
hmm,
And if you do that, right, and vertically tiling, and that works with animation. And yes, it takes a really, really long time to do tiling animation, so be prepared for that.
awesome. And those listening, Shamanic is just saying, Ben, you're killing it. Couldn't agree more. The app is amazing. But we have one last rabbit to pull out of the hat here today. Got one amazing thing I really want to show you about this incredible workflow that is in. So we had a community day. Immediately, like
Yeah.
within a week, we're like, oh, it's working. We got it. Okay. And I was like, what are you, how? Like, you are just absolutely incredible developer, making stuff go, getting stuff to production so fast. So you have some sort of layers here. Do you want to talk about um, how you've sort of implemented it? I'm going to drag and drop some pictures on you, and we're going to photo bash them together while you.
Sure. So, it looked kind of like a GIMP, and that was the inspiration primarily was a GIMP-esque interface with the layer menu in the bottom right hand corner, and then your layer options in the top right, and then everything on the left is a global option. The idea behind layers is to let you blend things together in a way that makes sense for not only for pixel space like a GIMP, like a Photoshop, but also for something like AI where you're not only working in pixel space. But the idea is you can just like layer pictures on top of one another and then let them go into the various inputs in AI and have the result be something that you would hope for from having those inputs. It's sort of like you're operating on several different levels of imagery at once because you can have, you know, multiple control nets, multiple IP adapters, but then primarily the biggest part is the denoising, the visible part where you're laying images on top of another, blending them together, and then letting the AI try and find what that looks like.
So
So you got a whole bunch of stuff
I got
going
a
on
whole
here.
bunch of stuff. I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be fun.
You know, it'll give you most of the ways that you would want to be able to size an image. Not all of them, unfortunately, but most for now.
So we've got the remove background option enabled. I see there's a question from Shamanic in the chat asking if there is like a seamless tile option.
Yeah, that's the horizontally tiling option and vertically tiling option under the width and height. That does use multi-diffusion. It works in it's similar to how tile diffusion works, except it rolls around. You know, it goes it repeats itself towards the other side. So it does take a bit longer, so because you have to do that tile diffusion.
We've got three images here. Got a cat morphic Catwoman. Got a room strange sci-fi world. Got this like weird emoji.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is use the denoising, kind of
Yep.
bring them all together. I really like the style of this cat one. So I want to kind of make all of the in style. So I would just use this IP adapter, right?
Yeah, that would be your best bet for maintaining a style like that.
Okay, so let's raise it up a bit. So 7.
Yep.
And then I need to denoise every layer. Is that right?
Yep. So if you putting it into denoising means that they will all be quote unquote visible in the beginning of the diffusion process. So they will be used as initialization images. Because not every image you want will be visible. That's why you have to explicitly select it. Like if you were to want to do some like face transfer and you have a second image that is just a person's face and you don't want that visible, by not checking denoising and only checking, for instance, prompt, then it won't be visible in the resulting diffusion process.
Okay, so we've got IP adapter and control net on the cat person layer, and then the other layer is denoised. Got
Yep.
our weird same prompt. I'm not changing the prompt. Maybe I should, but we'll see what we get from this. It's a lot of fun to experiment with this tool, I gotta say.
You know, I've got in the next iteration is just a simple opacity slider, which will just let you blend them a little bit better with each other. Why? You know, it just lets you do a little bit more unique things that will create something new for the AI to work on. Looks like it's downloading the background remover models. That's why this is taking a little bit.
Okay, kind of worked. One thing
All
that's
right, yeah.
really thing that's cool, like actually merge and so in this example, we didn't quite get the other 99. What could we do?
Yeah, so let's look at which ones did we want to remove the background on?
I think it's just the happy face.
Yeah, so you put the happy face over the
Oh, gotta go back to the canvas, right?
yeah,
Get
so
back.
the happy face you have as removed background, but because the top image is covering everything, you'd have to put the happy face above the top image.
Oh, of course.
Oh. Yeah, what we were looking for. Sorry about that confusion there.
No problem. I mean, this stuff is like, okay, yeah. Oh, there's the prompt coming.
Okay, yeah. Now you can turn the I think if you turn the denoising strength down now, you'll get more of the top images to come through.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
There we go. Yes.
I don't see the happy face
Yeah, that's it's
or any
disappearing.
mushroom or any mushroom. So we have got this to work. Maybe we do remove background at that.
Yeah, and you could also next one try and pull the cat above the background. Oh, hey, that looks cool.
It looks cool.
Yeah. You
Pull
can-
the cat above the background. Oh,
yeah,
I see.
yeah, but yeah, because now that you're removing that layer of background, it should layer itself on top of the mushroom, and you've also got that amount on the outside of the mushrooms that you could. Hey, there we go.
It's getting there. I think
Yeah. Which style are you trying to
I was trying to make it in the
emulate?
style of the cat.
Whoa! Now it's. Oh man, yeah, it's really taking your prompt. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can increase the IP adapter level. We always can do that. You can.
There we go. There we go. So it was the denoising that was like now we have kind of the happy face. And I'm not prompting the happy face in there. So
right.
if I
Yeah.
wanted to,
True.
I would have to be. Yeah, the little
Oh
cat
yeah.
face there. Super funny. I'm not too down with the cat face that we getting a little uncanny valley to.
I like this alternative world where cat people have humans on their shirts, though.
Okay, we're getting
There
there.
we go.
We're getting
Now,
there.
yeah. Now you're seeing the effects of denoising strength and how different they can be between models and between workflows too.
Hmm. And this is
There-
where, we had to like kind of prompt. Now, when you do this as well, doesn't it like automatic? Oh, the emoji turned into a cat too. Uh, oh, I think maybe. Yeah. So the outpainting happens automatically a lot, right? When you're
Yeah, so if you were to have empty space, oh look at the moon, it just became its own little moon there, no
oh
face.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you leave empty space on the canvas, then I will fill it in. It depends upon your settings. So if you were to just like leave the image on the canvas, don't check denoising on the image, just the image with an empty space, I will fill the canvas. If you like enable in painting while you do that, then I will follow your in painting exactly, but also fill the canvas. So I'll layer. I'll have to look and make sure that the non AI ones are working appropriately. But yeah, that I usually hit it with an Azergan to do that.
Yeah, this is super cool. So if I did this, you could also in paint, right? So
Yes. Um,
base rest.
no, and it's going to be doing it's doing quite a few steps because it's doing an ultimate SD upscale and it's tiling as much. You
Oh,
can
right, right, right.
Yes. And that's because you enabled denoising strength in there. So if you wanted to make this shorter, which obviously it's not going to take that long, a minute and 30 seconds is
Mm-hmm.
too bad in the grand scheme of things, but you can, there's options in the upscale box for decreasing the inference steps, adding a different scheduler, and the tiling stride as well. You can on at 1.5 I usually cap it out at 256, but that would be quite a bit fewer steps. So lots of things you can dial.
Yep. And this
Laura,
is there's add Laura's in right here.
yes, so there's Laura, like chorus and textual inversions are there. That is also the place where you would select VAE if you wanted to use something other than the default. And there's also a bunch of other stuff in there for some more advanced workflows, selecting your own in painter, adding refiners, changing the motion module is also in there. So
Yeah, and you can set these up as presets. So those model configuration items can be sets that you look in. So if we wanted to as well, we could this photo bash technique in paint, right? Where we would that worked. We could in paint, so we would
yeah,
only use certain areas where it bleeds through.
Laura, there's also I know we talked about motion modules a little bit, but there are also motion Laura. It is specific camera motions like zoom in, pan left, rotate, and those are really really good if you're trying to like turn an image into a video. If you want like here's a picture of somebody, zoom in on the face. That all you really need to do is get the picture of somebody and then add the zoom Laura and you can control the LoRa with scale like you can anything else. So it sort of acts like your camera controls. You know, my philosophy, especially when it comes to like stuff like AnimateDiff and this stuff that's moving really really fast, is just to ship as fast as possible.
Oh, you're doing
Just
great. You're doing
get it into your hands. Try do cool stuff. We'll work out what makes sense after.
really, really amazing stuff. Thank you so much for a great tool and walking us through it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and every time I'm like blown away by added to
Well, thank you so much for having me and being as enthusiastic as you are. And everybody here is very enthusiastic too. It's awesome.
Yeah, great. Well, Benjaminimal has the section on our Discord, the section. So if you have any questions, or you want to talk to other people, Fugue and what they're doing and what's great, and and feature requests and all that fun stuff, pop in there to chat with Benjamin. And yeah, check out the GitHub as well if you want to use this locally. Thanks everyone for joining us today for the RunDiffusion Community Day.